As we get Dr. Paul Taylor to come up and formally welcome everyone, may I request everyone to kindly move up a bit? That way we can be closer to the speakers and we can have a more fruitful interaction. So if I can just request everyone who's sitting on the back tables, if you can please kindly come up and occupy the tables closer to the stage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mathur. And to His Excellency Ambassador Navtej Sarna, and to all our distinguished guests, to our speakers. My name is Paul Michael Taylor, and I'm the Director of the Asian Cultural History Program at the Smithsonian Institution. I'm honored to be also the curator for our Sikh Heritage Project, which began in the year 2000. And I'm actually just here to welcome you all, but also to introduce the person who will really make the welcoming remarks, who is Ambassador Navtej Singh Sarna himself. And just a few practical matters. Yes, I know that quite a few people, including several people I know personally, have called me and saying they're on their way, and so we will be filling up, but please go ahead and move up to comfortable seats closer. This is like a university classroom, I think. It fills up from the back instead of from the front, so looking around, we're not that scary people, you can come closer if you want, it's okay. I also want to mention that there's the coffee, tea sort of refreshments out there. There will be a coffee break after the first session, and for about half an hour. So we'll all have a chance to introduce ourselves to each other, and talk then. But in the meantime, you are welcome to bring in your coffee and tea here, and if you need to get a refill, try to pay attention as you're running out to get a refill and come right back, this sort of thing. This is all fine too. But the main reason, of course, we're here, this is a wonderful occasion that we are celebrating 350 years of the legacy of Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Sikh Guru. It was a great honor for me over this weekend also to participate in the Gurpurab this weekend as well. With several of you who are here, and several people who are on their way and haven't arrived yet. So we'll have two sessions. The first session will begin with the opening remarks by Ambassador Navtej Singh Sarna, and will include a presentation by Professor Nikki Guninder Kaur Singh, introducing Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Sikh Guru. Nikki is an absolutely wonderful speaker. I heard her speaking in May in San Francisco, and I think that when I think about that title, I think it raises all sorts of questions. Not only who is Guru Gobind Singh, what does it mean to be Sikh? What does it mean to be a guru? I think, sorry, I don't mean to put a lot of pressure on Nikki, but I'm looking forward to hearing her, since she's so good at describing complex matters to general audiences as well as specialists. I'm looking forward to her paper very much. Ms. Jasvir Kaura Baban is Vice President of the Raj Academy Conservatoire, which will be performing at this evening's concert, to which all of you are welcome to come. She has a very intriguing title, Composing the Human Psyche, a brief overview of Sikh music. So next is Ms. Sonia Dami, who's the Executive Director of the Sikh Foundation of Palo Alto, California, founded by Dr. Narinder Singh Kapani. I had the great honor of working with Sonia as co-editor of a volume which has just come out this year, Sikh Art from the Kapani Collection. One of the great chapters in it is by Ambassador Navtej Singh Sarna himself. So I hope you all have a chance to see this, and I believe she's going to be describing that book. And then there would be a short panel discussion. When I say a panel discussion, what I mean is that a panel discussion with everybody else here too. The topics that these speakers have raised surely will raise many ideas in each of your own hearts and minds, and we welcome all of you to speak up. It's a short panel discussion though, so we ask that you do so succinctly. And that reminds me, I should stop speaking too and introduce Ambassador Navtej Singh Sarna. The next session will also be quite good after the coffee break, but let that be a surprise. We'll tell you what that will be later. Welcome to you all. Thank you all for coming. Please enjoy the conference.
A very good afternoon and welcome everybody. I think Paul was absolutely right. There are people coming in, and I'm sure that we will get a full audience before we actually get on to the real speakers. So I think it is a challenging thing to do a serious seminar like this on a Monday afternoon on a working day, and I'm surprised and pleasantly surprised that we have got almost a full hall for this, which shows that this is a program which was well worth doing. This is something which needed to be done, and perhaps much more needs to be done. But we thought that this would be a beginning. This is the year of the 350th birth anniversary of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and it is being celebrated in India and all over the world. So when we began to think about how we should commemorate this very important anniversary of a person who was as accomplished, was as multi-talented as he was, it is not an easy way, or easy solutions don't come to hand. But there was one thing which is very clear, which essentially is the purpose of doing it here and not doing it in a place where we would normally do, perhaps in a gurdwara or perhaps at one of our houses with our community, was that his message, his story, his life, his work is far too important to be contained, so to speak, for one community or one state or one country, for that matter. So I think it is a universal message, and is a message of global importance. So we thought that we would get in some of the best-known experts, speakers, and get them into the mainstream, in a mainstream venue in Washington, D.C. And for that, I really have to first thank Dr. Paul Taylor for deciding to work with the embassy. I have great memories of his Sikh Heart project in the year 2000, where I had an opportunity in some ways to work with him and be present at that opening of the special Sikh Heart exhibit that you put up at the Smithsonian. So you have carried on this journey and gone from achievement to achievement. So thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank all the very accomplished speakers that we have in this session. Professor Nikki Gunender Kaur Singh, Ms. Jasveer Rababan, Ms. Sonia Dhami. I know that you have come from large distances and you have come leaving your other work. I know how busy each one of you are to be part of this and to share your thoughts with this group. It's an exacting 2 sessions, so I'm not going to speak too much. You will have a lot of listening to do, and then we have an evening concert. So I think we have a very rich afternoon ahead of us. So thank you all, and I look forward to a very rewarding afternoon here, and then an evening. Thank you so much.
Chair of the Department of Religious Studies at Kobe College, and I'm here to celebrate. And it's a momentous day. Thank you very much, everybody. It is indeed heartening to be celebrating the 10th Sikh Guru's anniversary in the capital of the New World, here at the Reagan Center. Sikhs have been coming to America since the late 19th century. laboring on railroads, farms, orchards, lumber industry. But they were victims of all kinds of anti-Asian policies that kept them away from the United States or marginalized within the nation. Congressman Dalip Singh Sond was the first Asian to serve in the House of Representatives. Dalip Singh Sond worked for the naturalization rights to immigrants. We have come a long way from those times. It is wonderful indeed that the Indian Embassy and the Smithsonian have joined up for this enriching celebration. And as we all know, celebration is so vital for the individual and collective identity of a community. And this also happens to be a double celebration, am I right? This is the 70th anniversary of India's independence too. Centuries earlier, the 10th Sikh Guru, born in 1666 in Patna, had kindled the fire of freedom in our hearts and minds. And this afternoon, I'd like to share 4 elements of the freedom fire he ignited. Rabindranath Tagore's prayer song for freedom from the Gitanjali, for which the poet won the Nobel Prize for Literature, forms the backdrop of my analysis. And those of you who are familiar with it might recognize where the mind is without fear. That's kind of the poem I have in mind. And what I want to do is kind of look at the 10th Guru, explore, analyze how his message is so relevant to our times and how indeed it is universal. And there are 4 points I want to pick up on. The first one is the universal reality. Where does the 10th Guru had a short life, but he had phenomenal accomplishments. He made amazing contributions. This is where we get our name from. This is where the Sikh identity comes from. But where is it all coming from? What is the matrix of his philosophical, metaphysical worldview? And that is Ik Onkar, the revelation of the founder guru of the Sikh tradition, Guru Nanak. Ik Onkar, 1, numeral 1. That is the vision. And that is infinite. The one cannot be installed in any which way. And the one is father and mother. The one is everything. The one is Allah and Ram. It really does not matter because ultimately it is transcendent and it is one. And we are all kind of united and we are all related with that one. That vision is crucial to understanding Guru Gobind Singh. He was the 10th Guru. He is the final successor, the 9th successor to Guru Nanak, and he is taking the same vision of oneness. So Guru Nanak had the Japji, which is the opening prayer, which is the starting hymn of the Guru Granth Sahib, and Guru Gobind Singh composed his Jap Sahib, very much like the Japji. And the Jap Sahib has its own rhythm, its own very strong imagery, and it's the same one that is being celebrated and poetically reintroduced to us. And so, anek hain, fir in ek hain. This is Guru Gobind Singh from the Jap, many times, many forms, and yet it is one. Anek, and then it is one again. And it's present in all directions. So this vision of oneness is really very important in our world today. That's number 1. My point number 2 is pluralism. We are here. We are sitting here today. It's a very diverse world, global world, as the ambassador said. But we really don't know how to deal with one another. It's not just to have different people and different races and ethnicities and cultures and languages, but how we engage with one another. And that is the genius of Guru Gobind Singh, that almost 3.5 centuries ago, he's making people aware of diversity, pluralism. And here I just want to share, he actually gives us the definition of diversity. And do you know what he says? Nyare nyare desan ke pes ke prabhav hai, eke nain, eke kaan, eke deh, eke ban. All these things that we see, different complexions and races and colors and so forth, these are all external. They are a result of different geographical locations. Ultimately, Eke Nan, we all have the same eyes. Eke kaan, same ears. Eke deh, same body. Eke ban, same voice. I mean, what a brilliant commentary. You know, this is the genius of this person. And he's sitting in India where there's a lot of diversity and people are fighting and there's all kinds of conflict. But he's making us see this is who we are. Not only that, he draws attention to the same one, praised in temple and mosque, Puranas and Quran, puja and namaz. These are all the same, going to the same end, to the same ultimate point. And that's why people like Mahatma Gandhi, you know, when they wanted to bring peace and harmony, they revived Guru Gobind Singh's message. And I remember reading Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, first president of independent India, his book on the Upanishads. There he quotes, and he says that Gandhiji, he took vision of Guru, Ishwar Allah Tere Naam, Mandir Masjid Tere Dham, from inspired by Guru Gobind Singh's Akal Ustat. These are Radhakrishnan's word. And also Rabindranath Tagore's goal too, where the world has not been broken up into fragments of narrow domestic walls, is expressed by the Sikh Guru centuries ago. So the 10th Guru was really an icon for nationalism, for freedom, for many of the political thinkers and ideologues of the 20th century. So people are using him, are inspired by him. Not only that, I'm still on my point about diversity. Guru Gobind Singh powerfully voices the moral obligation that we human beings recognize. And I really emphasize that word, recognize, recognize. We all belong to the same one. He makes it. It's a moral obligation. It's a responsibility. It's not just enough we are all different. But we must know that we are of the same one caste because birth and biology justify human equality. And there's an urgency in Guru Gobind Singh's tone as he voices the two imperatives, Pehchan bo, recognize, and Jaan bo, know. And I'll read you his verse from the Akal Ustat. Manas ki jaat sab hai eke pehchan bo. Manas ki jaat sab hai eke pehchan bo. Recognize all of humanity is biologically of the same caste. Ek hi saroop, sab hai eke jyot, jaan bo. No, jaan bo. No, we are all of the same body. We have the same spirit. We are made up of the same divine metaphysical light. And he's making it an imperative. So it's not just enough, okay, we are diverse. Yes, and it's not tolerance, I want to emphasize. What the Guru is telling is, oh yeah, I tolerate others, I'm fine, you know. He's making it are you listening to me? Because this is what the Guru is telling us. Janbo, that we are all the same. Know that we come from the same. Recognize we are of the same caste. So this is his message, and closer to our own times, people like Martin Luther King, he too says we have inherited a large house, a great world house in which we have to live together, black and white, Easterner and Westerner, Gentile and Jew, Catholic and Protestant, Muslim and Hindu. We must learn somehow to live with each other in peace. And Guru Nanak is giving that message 3.5 centuries ago. Third point. Activism. He was not just a thinker, a visionary, he actually did things. He fought battles. He gave up his life for things. Battle of Pangani, Battle of Nadon. Not only that, he created the Khalsa, the birth of the Khalsa that he choreographed, 1699, Baisakhi. What was that all about? That was for freedom, liberation. What does Tagore have that, instead of this dreary, dead habit that we have, he wanted people to break out of those things, those norms that we have inherited, our stereotypes and prejudices, our intellectual habits that we have. Come on. It was kind of a new awakening, a rebirth, a reawakening. And that's the birth of the Khalsa. So everybody has the same name, everybody has the same, no caste, everybody is reborn and has a new identity with a new name, new birthplace, and the symbols, the 5 symbols. It's kind of, this is who we are. These items of faith are really kind of, what is the Kada symbol about? any work is good. And remembering the one infinite one, there's no birth, no death, always aware of that one. So the actions are of paramount importance. It's not just to think, so the activity is very significant. And so he created the birth of the Khalsa, he gave us the 5 symbols, and one other thing we cannot forget, he also made the Guru Granth Sahib, the Guru forever. That's quite an accomplishment too. Just before he passed away, the Guru Granth Sahib had been compiled, the Granth Sahib had been compiled by the 5th Guru, Guru Arjan, in 1604. It was the message of Guru Nanak coming from earlier on that was put together. What does Guru Gobind Singh do? He makes it the Guru. This is it. There will be no more physical, personal gurus. And that's remarkable because that sacred text has the word of the gurus, Sikh gurus, Muslim Sufis, and Hindu Bhagats. It's a very beautiful text. This is the language. This is what Guru Nanak says in the Japji. The language of the Guru Granth Sahib is that of love. And Guru Gobind Singh makes it the Guru forever. And the Mundavni, the seal of the Guru Granth Sahib, which is authored, voiced by the 5th Guru, Guru Arjan, Thal vich tin vastu piyo, sat santok vichar, jeko khave, jeko punche, tista hui udhar. So the platter, the Guru Granth Sahib is considered what? A dish, a plate, on which lie 3 things: sat, truth; santok, contentment; vichar, reflection. That's what it is. Jeko khave, jeko puja. So it's not just not eating, not just partaking, but somebody who savors it, who tastes it, tasting. Tista hoy udhar. That's liberation. So liberation, the freedom, real freedom comes with that sensuous experience. Again, what Guru Gobind Singh emphasized, janbo, pehchanbo, recognition. These are very, very important. So it's just not at a very superficial level. These people are teaching us, they're inspiring us to really kind of get into the very profundity of our human experience. So my final point is poetry. Guru Gobind Singh was a great poet and a great artist too. He fought battles, he was a visionary, he talked about diversity, but it was all in the language of infinite love, Bhakya Bhau Apar. And that's something we kind of ignore about Guru Gobind Singh's personality, his legacy. And to me, the poetry is very important. And he resurrected many of the figures from Indian myths, Indian past. Chandi Diwar, Durga Diwar. These are, he's writing them in Punjabi compositions. And the female he's not a worshipper or anything, but he's a great poet who's embellishing and reminding people to fight for freedom, against oppression, against social injustice, against any kind of inequality. And poetry was the means to do it. And today too, to come to think of it, our laws are very perfect. Everything is equal. Don't we live in an egalitarian society? Yes, we do. But do we really practice it? I don't think so. Because our attitudes have not changed. Our consciousness has not changed. And how does that transform? That's where we need poetry. That's where we need literature. That's where we need art. That's where we need films. That's where we need our culture. So to transform. So the poetry was a medium of really awakening and transforming our consciousness. And it's really interesting, like, Plato, he banned the poets from his republic. Why? Because the poets are very powerful. And Guru Gobind Singh, he had a whole entourage of poets in wherever he was, whether Patna, later on, so forth. So it was really important. So the poetry is the means of changing and molding the people. So that's what I wanted to mention. And And just to give him the Jap Sab, the end of the Jap Sab, the finale of the Jap Sab, Chatar Chatar Varti, Chatar Chatar Pukte, Siyambhav Subham, Sarbda Sarb Jukte, Dukalam Pranasi Deram Surupe, Sadanga Sange Apangam Vibhute. This is Guru Gobind Singh, that the one is present, the point I started out with, the vision of the one, everywhere, in all four directions, in every place, every time, that one is present. Sada Anga Sange, always with us. Apangam Vibhute, forever by our side, radiance everlasting. So that's the message he's bringing us. So what was kindled by the 10th Sikh Guru over 3.5 centuries ago in India must be kept alive in the new millennium and in the new world. My deepest thanks to Ambassador Navteej Sarna, Paul Taylor from the Smithsonian, Miran Poole of the Kaur Foundation, Sonia Tammi from the Sikh Foundation, and this entire community for hosting and participating in this significant event. Memories have a future. Our future is shaped by our past. By holding on to our rich past, let us today enjoy the wonderful resources of our global society. Let us together, Hindu, Muslim, Jew, Christian, let us together, white, black, brown, yellow, let us together, men and women, old and young, create a truly free, just, and egalitarian future. Our fundamental principle should be love. Love is what fans that fire in us. In the experience of love, all the toxic stuff that clogs our arteries, fear, hate, prejudice, stereotyping, hostility, are burnt away. As the visionary Guru Gobind Singh said, Jin prem kiyo, tin hi prabh payo. Those who love find the beloved. Let us keep the fire of freedom burning in our hearts. Thank you.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I am Jasveer Kaur Rababan from Raj Academy, and it is my utmost honor to be here with you today. I thank the Embassy and the Ambassador and the Smithsonian for putting on this event. I was thinking just yesterday, actually, that this is a weekend where we're celebrating the Gurpurab of the first Guru, and you've created an opportunity for us to celebrate from the 1st to the 10th, and that's a beautiful opportunity. Thank you. I'm going to try to stick to the time because my presentation is slightly long, and I want to share with you a story of Sikh music, a story that most of us may not have heard. Our history books don't tell us this story. And I would like to start from a period of time in India when the country was facing pain and oppression, when people did not have a voice, equality did not exist. A voice rose, one person rose. Nanak rose, and he became a voice for the voiceless. He fought for justice and for equality, for everybody. And his purpose and his mission was to bring the people of India together. He wanted to unite. He wanted people to become human again. He wanted the segregation to disperse. And his message was consistent from the 1st to the 10th Nanak. His weapon was his music, and his shield was his love, and his purpose was to unite humanity. He created a conscious people and gave the perfect tool to carve the human psyche. He used sacred music, sacred words, and sacred instruments to engage both hemispheres of the brain, enabling the human mind to function at its highest capability. This was the secret of the making of the Sikh consciousness. Music was used as a supreme tool. In every faith, everybody uses music. It's something that unites us globally. Whichever country you go to, you can relate to the culture through the music. So it's a language that we all understand. And at that time, when India was so divided, he used a universal language. He used music as a way to bring people together. And the genius thing that he did was that he used it as a vehicle to transport our emotions and manifest them past the limits of words. And this is what liberated the people. This is what allowed them to rise out of their oppression and to stand tall again as humans. And this was a gift that he gave to us. And we'll talk a little about Nanak. For Sikh music, he started off the tradition of Kirtan. Without him, we wouldn't have this practice in our faith. And he introduced the concept of rag. Rag already existed in India. And, excuse me, many musicians and great scholars already practiced rag. He adopted that philosophy to join with the sacred Gurbani, Turki Bani, brought the two together. And in addition, he introduced an instrument. In this image, you see in the yellow, that's an image of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. The gentleman in the white who's holding the instrument is Bhai Faranda. He's the person who crafted the instrument that he's holding. And it was crafted on the instruction of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So at this period of time in India, very many instruments existed. And there were approximately 60 different types of rabab that existed at that time. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji met Bhai Mardana played a Drupadi rabab. So he had a rabab. The rabab was different though, different to this rabab. The reason I like to use this image is you have Bibi Nanaki, and she is a key pillar in bringing Kirtan to Sikhs. She paid for this rabab. She gave the money to Bhai Feru, who brought the rabab to give to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and it was a gift from a sister to her brother, so that he may start his spiritual endeavors and go and enlighten the world and share his love. This is what we would now see as the Sikh rabab. You have Afghani rabab, Sindhi rabab, so many different types of rabab that exist. What makes this one unique is the length, the dimension, the number of strings. So Drupadi rabab, which Bhai Mardana already played, had 6 strings. It had no sympathetic strings, the length was smaller, and the sound box at the bottom we also refer to as the belly, this was larger. And this instrument that was made on the instruction of Guru Nanak Dev Ji specifically had 5 strings. So 5 is a common theme that we see throughout our history. And it started here. He used 5 strings on this instrument. He made the length of the fingerboard longer. You will hear these instruments later this evening. And to me, I find this fascinating. Just as easily he could have used an existing instrument, what was the need to create a brand new instrument? It shows his thought. It shows what he's looking to achieve, how he wants to carve the mindset of these people to empower them. He wants to give them the best tools possible. And he adapted what existed to create this instrument for this purpose of music. Our journey into the music transcends to the 5th Guru, who played a significant role. The Adi Granth, which we now refer to as Guru Granth Sahib, was first compiled by the 5th Guru. all of the sacred poetry that had been written until that point was compiled together. Shabads which did not have rags assigned on top at this point were assigned rags. In the Guru Granth Sahib, there are 60 different rags, 60. And this is a topic that people like to have very healthy debates on. We can talk about this later on. To my research and to my findings, 60 is the number that I have come across. And of that, 31 new rags that did not exist in Indian music were created by Guru Arjan Dev Ji. So here we see a twist, that rags already exist, but now new ones are being created for the purpose of this music, which means that there's a necessity, there's a lot of thought and intellectual capacity that's gone into building this curriculum to develop these people. Mishrat rags, this is where two separate rags are brought together to create a brand new rag. So two people get together, they have a child, the child is not the same as either of the parents but a combination of both. This is the easiest way to explain what a Mishrat rag is. The genres, from folk music to Drupad. You have South Indian music, you have so many different styles of poetry and music that are captured in this one Granth. And there is not another Granth that you will find that has the same capacity of musical intelligence. It's constructed from beginning to end in a musical mode. The terminology that was given to Sikh music is different to Shastri Sangeet. In Shastri Sangeet or Indian classical music, you'll commonly come across words as asthai and antara. And here, you would have rahau and pada. Rahau is your chorus, and the pada is your verse. So every Shabad has a very clear instruction. The title will tell you, this is the rag to sing this Shabad, and this is the rahau. This is where you start the Shabad, your central focus, your theme. And these are the verses. So if we truly want to understand the message and take away as much value as we can from every Shabad, following those instructions will get us to that point. And in addition, using these instruments may help because they were created for this purpose. We have something very interesting here. Guru Arjan Dev Ji, before he was Guru, at the time of the third Guru, when he was 13 years old, he created an instrument. I'm much older than 13, and if you asked me to create an instrument, I would struggle to invent an instrument for you today. And he was 13 years old. He created a very beautiful instrument called saranda. And this was crafted at the age of 13. He did kirtan with this instrument in the court of the third Guru, and then continued that maryada until he was also Guru. So these are two instruments which didn't exist in India before their specific creation. And it's an extremely exquisite instrument. And again, you will hear this very beautiful instrument later on this evening. In the court of the fifth Guru, the mardang, a percussion instrument, a single barrel drum which is played from the side, was cut into two to create this instrument, which we call the jodi. And in modern day, we refer to the tabla as the jodi. The tabla evolved much later. The jodi, on the larger barrel, you may see the color is slightly different. So you've got a black circle on the smaller one, and on the other one, you've got a brown circle. That is dough, fresh dough, or atta that we make roti with. And it was used to apply onto the drum. Bear in mind, in that time period, microphones did not exist. We did not have synthetic sound. So everything was acoustic, and buildings didn't exist like this. Everything was usually outdoors. So these instruments were created to play acoustically, without a sound system, in gatherings of hundreds and thousands. So you just think about the intellect that would create these instruments. Our next contribution into Sikh music instrumentally, this is an instrument that existed approximately 5000 BC is when it was created by a very great scholar and a devotee of Lord Shiva. by the name of Ravan. And many people see Ravan as this demon god, but he was very intellectual, he was a scholar, and he created one of India's most astonishing instruments, the sarangi. All of the turmoil that India endured as a land brought this sarangi out of the spiritual arena, more into, let's say, the entertainment arena. And the sixth Guru brought this back into the spiritual arena. And it was once again used to sing kirtan and sacred poetry. Our final contribution for Sikh music instruments was from Guru Gobind Singh. And he created not one, but two instruments. He finalized the compilation of the Guru Granth Sahib, re-edited and added some rags, added the final rag, Jai Jaivanti, which is a contribution of the ninth Guru. So Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji created rag Jai Jaivanti. And this is a very prominent rag in Indian classical music, but sometimes it's not known where it came from. And it was the ninth Guru that invented this rag. He created this beautiful instrument you see on the left called taus. Taus is Persian for peacock. And from the dimension and the structure of this instrument, you can see how it resembles a peacock. And the sound is exquisite. Beside it is a smaller instrument called Dilruba. This is Persian for heart stealer. And it's a scaled down version of the taus. And they say that the reason for the Dilruba being created, we didn't have cars back then. We didn't have large SUVs and trucks and buses that could take us around. Everything was on horseback. So when the warriors were going out to battle, they didn't separate from their instruments. And this is historically proven. The instruments went to battle with the Sikhs because this was a practice for every single Sikh. It wasn't just for those who were going to stay at home and worship. It was a practical tool that enabled these people to be as great as they were. So they needed to use this tool on a daily basis to carve their psyche so that when they enter the battlefield, they can enter with mercy, not with rage. And these tools enable them to do that. This beautiful instrument, carved of one single piece of wood, played with a bow. When the Singhs found it too strenuous to carry the taus on horseback along with their weaponry and everything else they were carrying, they requested for a smaller instrument, and that was when the Dilruba was created. And the Dilruba was used by Mata Sundari to teach kirtan to the children of the Khalsa in the court of the 10th Guru. So these instruments played a significant role in the making of us as a people. This is a picture which is from the Illustrated London News, 1860s. And this is the inside of the Golden Temple, Harmandir Sahib, or Darbar Sahib. And it has a very different structure. So what I've shared with you now is what I would define as Sikh music. So the instruments that were created by the Gurus or used by the Gurus for spiritual purposes are instruments that we refer to as Sikh musical instruments. And the story changes. This is a time in India that many of us haven't seen. You wouldn't see cows and such things roaming around the parkarma of the Golden Temple. Everything's very regimented now. The building that you see on the far side, that was the palace of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, which no longer exists either. And these things were taken away. In the place where we just saw the palace on the previous image, just there, it was replaced with the building that you see, which is a clock tower. And this clock tower was deliberately placed there with a police station at the bottom opening. Many people think it's a church. It's not a church, it was a clock tower. And the placement of it was very deliberate. This statement I would like to share with you. I have traveled across the length and breadth of India. I have not seen one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture. For if the Indians think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation. At this point, many things changed. Who we were changed. What we were about changed. This is an image of a Ang from Guru Granth Sahib that was from a Sarup in 1708. And you see the difference here versus what we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing printed letters. There's no spaces between the words. And if those of you that can read Gurmukhi, you can see how this starts. It starts, Ik Oankar Sat Gur Prasad Ramkali Mahalla Tija Anand. Does that sound different to your ears? Because you're used to hearing Ramkali Mahalla Tija Anand Ik Oankar Sat Gur Prasad. So it's a small change, but it's a significant change. This is like changing the heart of a person. And these small and subtle changes, our clothing, our food, our medical care, we were natural people. We believed in Ayurveda. Our food, our kitchen is our medicine cabinet. But now it's not. Now we need a GP. We need to go to the hospital. We need healthcare. And this all changed. It continued to change. This brand, Deban, this changed our practice of music. Everything that I've told you, some of you may have seen these instruments, and others of you, you're used to seeing something else. You're used to seeing a harmonium, 2 harmoniums and a tabla. This is what we see as a staple. This gentleman that you see here, Alexander Francois Deban, in the 1840s, he created an instrument called the harmonium. And the instrument that was created in Europe, that didn't sell, that buskers rejected, was brought by the East India Company, and they found a market, or let's say they created a market. And that market that they created was India. And they took our heritage, they took our instruments, and people were imprisoned, they were threatened, all sorts of things happened, in order to install this instrument that we have now embraced and adopted as our own. How many of you ever asked the question, did Guru Gobind Singh Ji do kirtan with a vajra? We've all been told from a young age that Guru Nanak Dev Ji travelled with Bhai Mardana, and Bhai Mardana played rabab. But somehow we've desensitized from our history, and we're not asking that question. Why are we not playing rabab? Why are our children not playing rabab? Why are our gurdware not doing kirtan with rabab? What happened? And the psyche that was given to us as a gift to make us incredible, the warriors that were feared the most were those from the Khalsa army. It took the British 100 years to cross the river to enter Punjab. There was something that the Gurus gave us. There was something that made us who we were. And then everything was diluted. this is what we see. This is what we've adopted as our own, something that is foreign and greater than our own. We need to create a future. We need to create awareness. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Jasveer. That was fascinating information. Thank you so much for sharing that. His Excellency, Ambassador Serna, Dr. Paul Michael Taylor, ladies and gentlemen, it is my deep privilege to represent the Sikh Foundation at this August gathering celebrating the 350th birth anniversary of Guru Gobind Singh on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of India's freedom. Please allow me to share a few highlights from the 50-year legacy of the Sikh Foundation, which was established in 1967 in Palo Alto, California, with the mission to preserve and promote Sikh arts, heritage, and academics. Within a few years of its establishment, 4 publications were released, including the Sikh Sansar, a quarterly journal, in 1972. In 1984, a weekly newspaper, the Sikh Times, was launched, amongst other efforts advocating for peace in the Punjab. The Sikh Foundation has pioneered the display of Sikh arts with the first ever exhibit at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco in 1992. In all, 7 Sikh art exhibits have been put up by leading museums all over the world, including the Smithsonian here in Washington, D.C., the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, the ROM in Toronto, and the Rubin Museum in New York. The Sikh Foundation has also pioneered the establishment of chairs of Sikh studies at the highest institutions of learning. The Kundan Kaur Kapani chair, the first of its kind, was set up at UC Santa Barbara in 1997. The 35th anniversary of the foundation was celebrated with the opening of the first and only permanent Sikh art gallery in the West at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco in 2003. It fills my heart with delight to acknowledge today the initiative of Dr. P.S. Khanuja, who has now established the second permanent Sikh art gallery at the museum in Phoenix, Arizona. Today, the Sikh community all over the United States has 6 endowed chairs, including 3 at the campuses of University of California at Santa Barbara, Riverside, and Santa Cruz. 2 chairs are here in Hofstra University, out of which 1 is in Sikh music, and the 6th chair is at Michigan. Numerous Sikh studies and Punjabi language programs are also running, including our latest at the Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley. These chairs and programs create an enduring legacy for educating generations of students. With increasing number of scholars of Sikh studies, the field has expanded from religion and history to today also include economics, arts, and conservation. Encouraging scholarship of the highest level, numerous publications have been released in recent years. Our latest, Sikh Art from the Kapani collection, is co-published with the Smithsonian Institute. I have the honor to co-edit this volume with Dr. Taylor. This milestone publication documents the unrivaled collection of Sikh art put together by Satinder Kaur and Narinder Singh Kapani. Deeply inspired by the teachings of the Sikh Gurus, their collection displays the entire range of Sikh artistic expression over its 500-year history. It includes beautiful portraits, illustrated manuscripts, spectacular paintings of the Golden Temple, royal arts and treasures of the Sikh Maharajas, arms and armaments, coinage, stamps, textiles, and contemporary arts. During the years that it took for this volume to take shape, I was privileged to work with these priceless artworks. From this rich treasure trove of Sikh art, I have selected to share with you today paintings and artworks that inform us of the life and times of Guru Gobind Singh. Starting with this meticulously detailed pen and ink drawing of the Gurdwara, which marks the birthplace of Guru Gobind Singh in Patna, the Takhat Shri Harmandir Sahib, Patna Sahib. Artist B.S. Malhan traveled extensively all over India to create this series of drawings of the Gurdwaras associated with the Guru's life. This early 20th century poster of the Guru shows him in the pose of Bollywood heroes, casually leaning against the ramparts of a fort with a partially visible cannon. Dressed as a royal prince of the times, wearing a turban adorned with a white plume, endearing him to his people as Kalgitar Patsha. The Guru has a measured look on his delicately drawn face, but sports a sword on his hip and a bow and arrows on his back. In 1685, the young Guru and his family were moved from the village of Nanki Chak further up into the Himalayas. Another drawing by Malhan vividly captures the scenic beauty of the location. The Gurdwara marking the Guru's residence is on the banks of the quietly flowing river Jamuna. The township came to be known as Paonta Sahib. Here the Guru spent his time advancing his classical education and nurturing his poetic genius. At the same time, he honed his administrative and military skills, preparing him for his role as the spiritual and the military leader of the Sikhs. After proving his prowess in battle as a brilliant military strategist, the Guru moved back to Nanki Chak. This early 19th century masterpiece is in the popular artistic style associated with Guru Gobind Singh. The Guru is astride his horse, flanked by 3 attendants and set amidst a verdant green landscape of rolling hills. There are peacocks in the foreground and a cityscape in the background. Dressed in fine clothes, adorned with jewelry, sporting a kalgi on his turban, he holds the reins of his horse, on which is perched his white hawk, conforming to his title, Lord of the White Hawks, Chittiyan Bajan Wala. The artist has drawn a halo around his head, signifying his high spiritual position. The Guru's horse, richly embellished with accessories, is rather interesting for being both in red and blue color. Guru Gobind Singh was also known by the epithet rider of the blue steed, or Neele Kode da Aswar, as in this early 19th century watercolor showing the Guru in a similarly stylized composition rendered with delicacy and elegance. This time at Anandpur was a momentous phase for Sikhs. 5 forts were built, and by now the Guru was clear about his mission in life. He writes in his composition Chandi Charitra from the Dasam Granth, Deh Shiva var mohe, shubh karmante kabhu na taru, na daru jarson jap jaye ladu, nischay kar apni jeet karu. और सिखो अपने ही मन को, एह लालच हो मन तो उचरो। जब आव की औध निदान बने, अतहीरन में तब जूझ मरूं, अतहीरन में तब जूझ मरूं। In this contemporary painting by master artist Devinder Singh, the scene is set for the Baisakhi celebration of 1699 at Anandpur Sahib. The Guru is baptizing the 5 beloved or Panj Pyare who belong to Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Orissa, and Karnataka respectively, which I believe is symbolic of the Guru's nationalistic vision. The 5 beloved, hailing from different parts of Hindustan, form the nucleus of the Khalsa, the order of the pure. The call to battle came soon. The Guru's 2 elder sons, Sahibzada Ajit Singh and Jujar Singh, were martyred in the battle with the Mughals at Chamkaur. The artist imagines the scene before battle. The Guru is presenting his older son with a sword, while the entourage around them looks anxious, even though the brave young Sahibzada is shown smiling in the face of certain death. Artist Arpana Kaur, India's leading contemporary artist of today, has painted this delicate watercolor of the Guru with the pen in his hand, sitting stoically composed with a faraway look in his eyes. With all seeming lost, but still full of faith and courage, he pens his famous poem in Punjabi, Mittar Pyare Nu, Hal Muridan da Kehna. The people of Punjab were appalled to hear the news of the dastardly murders of the Sahibzadas and flocked to the Guru's camp. The famous battle with the Mughals was fought in 1705 at Muxar. Shown here in the painting is Mata Pak Kaur, lovingly called Mai Pago, holding center stage, fighting alongside the 40 Sikhs who had deserted the Guru earlier and redeemed themselves in this battle as the Chali Mukte, or the 40 saved ones. Thereafter, the Guru retired to the village of Talwandi Sabo and prepared the definitive edition of the Granth Sahib to be passed on as the Guru for all Sikhs. It was here where he finished the Zafarnama, the epistle of victory, and sent it to the Mughal emperor, Aurangzeb. His own writings were collected by Pai Mani Singh and compiled as the Dasam Granth. The Guru then proceeded to the Deccan to personally meet Emperor Aurangzeb. This fine miniature of the Guru astride a pinto horse, fully armed with swords, bow, and arrows, and dressed in Mughal fashion, is a copy from a set of 10 miniatures of the Sikh Gurus attributed to the workshop of Nain Sukh of Guler in the early 19th century. While some of the paintings in this set are in the Government Museum in Chandigarh, the rest of the set is in the Lahore Museum, a legacy of the partition of India in 1947, when art collections too were divided between the nations, making this complete set in the Kapani collection even more significant. On 7th October 1708, Guru Gobind Singh's life journey ended in Nanded, Maharashtra. The Guru's last directive to the Sikhs was to bestow the Guruship of the Panth on the Shri Guru Granth Sahib, to be revered as the living embodiment of the 10 Gurus. Guru Gobind Singh, a multifaceted personality, a warrior, a leader, a poet, a linguist, and a musician, who I believe is one of the most fascinating and remarkable figures in world history. The flame that he lit in our hearts inspires the Sikh community the world over to fight against injustice and to aspire for excellence in our chosen fields. When we look back at history, we see that within 100 years of the Guru's death, the Sikhs had an independent empire of their own, which effectively stopped the repeated foreign invasions that had plagued the Indian heartland for centuries, giving way to an era of peace and prosperity for the entire homeland. The Punjab was the last kingdom to be annexed by the British, and again within 100 years, India was freed from foreign rule, enabled by the freedom fighters, majority of whom were from the Punjab. It is the legacy of Guru Gobind Singh that inspires a community which is less than 2% of the population in its homeland and contributes 40% to the national grain pool. It is the legacy of this great human being that the Sikh community in Canada, which is also less than 2% of the population, but has contributed 4 ministers to the national cabinet, including the Minister for Defense and the Minister for Science, Technology, and Innovation. Brave, fearless, young women all across the world, Sikh women, are making waves. Lily Singh from Canada and Gurmeher Kaur from India have been just last month named by Time magazine as the top 10 next generation leaders. Rupi Kaur, an author all of 25 years, topped the New York Times bestseller list with her first book, Milk and Honey. The scientific contributions of Dr. N.S. Kapani changed the world forever, enabling this age of fiber optic connectivity. The list of achievers is long and illustrious, and it is the legacy of Guru Gobind Singh that the Sikh community all over the world continues to produce high achievers, be it in sports, arts, business, technology, agriculture, or public life. Above all, we Sikhs believe in and pray for Sarbat da Pala. May everyone prosper. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia, and thank you also to Nikki and Jasvir. What a wonderful sequence of speakers we have had. We had planned a panel discussion, but with an eye on the time, I have to say, all of us were so fascinated by each of these. I could not even think of 1 minute we could have asked to have less time spent on these 3 papers. I would just like to say that it's such a great way to celebrate not only the legacy of Guru Gobind Singh and 350th anniversary of his birth, but also the 70th anniversary of India, and even the juxtaposition of those two, as we've heard from these papers, is so important. In addition, what's been very impressive about all of these papers, they very much tie into each other very well in looking at Guru Gobind Singh and his context, and particularly with reference to the concert that I'm sure we'll all hear this evening, the introduction to his musical legacy has been very revealing. It raises to all of us the issue of what Sikh heritage is, and that's one of the things that I've seen in museum work, the modifications and changes over time and what people identify, people who are Sikhs and people who are non-Sikhs identify as Sikh heritage. And the question of to what extent authenticity relates to the earliest gurus versus the long history of the Sikhs afterwards. This was also an issue for Dr. Kapani in the question of deciding what would be the content of the Kapani collection. As Sonia Dami has described, it is the most outstanding collection, and the definition that he used himself as a working definition is that he collected art by, for, or about the Sikhs. So it could be by a Sikh artist or about the Sikhs, and he had a broad range of interests, not only in the earliest arts, but also their transformations. So I think we've heard a lot of very different perspectives, actually. On the one hand, I can just comment that all the papers relate so well to each other that the overview of Guru Gobind Singh's life and philosophy from the perspectives of such important principles as oneness, that Nikki Guninder Kaur Singh has brought up, oneness and pluralism, and activism and so on, the importance of completion of the Guru Granth Sahib and also of his poetry. These principles, looking at the literary and historical analysis, were very much re-emphasized when we saw the visual art perspective of his life and the transformations of his thought. And Jasper Kaur Rababan's paper, I think also, from my perspective, brought up all of these issues in relation to music. And though I think that if we had heard the examples, we would probably have even more knowledge, so we'll have to listen this evening to hear the examples. I hope everybody comes to the concert. Well, I think, because looking at the time, we have used a little bit more than our time, but nevertheless, it's time for our coffee break, and I think everybody would have a chance to raise these topics also after the second session and also directly with the speakers today, so I don't think we have time. Mr. Ambassador, did you want to say any further words now?
I was wondering if you could cut the coffee break to 20 minutes so we finish on.
Well, the coffee break then will finish at a scheduled time. So we'll have a 20-minute coffee break. And everybody, if you could please come back on time, we'll start then. And thanks very much for that idea. That's a good idea. And then we have the second session, which is beginning next. Thank you very much.